All right, here are your notes. The second half of section 3.5. Like I said, I split it up into two halves of teaching so that it wasn't quite so long of a section. Now we're going to take a graph, an equation using slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is what we worked on in the previous half of the section, getting it in y equals mx plus b form. So this already is super nice and set up for you in y equals mx plus b form. And since it's plus b, we know our b is -3. The first thing you should do is find the slope, which is the number in front of the x, not including the x. I know you've heard me say that over and over, but it's important. The b is the y-intercept. Y-intercept is the negative in front and the 3, both included. And why is that so important? Because that's how we're going to graph it. You've heard me call the y-intercept the base before, partly because it starts with b, but also because that is going to be the base of our graph, our starting point. Where do we start? Y-intercept, I'll put this on here as a reminder. It is the y-intercept, and the y-intercept touches the y-axis. So we're going to start on the y-intercept down 3. 1, 2, 3. Always start at the origin and count down 3. There's our first point. Now if you remember when we normally graphed lines, we did a whole big T-chart and we said what's x, what's y, and we probably put like 5 points on there, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. We used it a lot of times. You don't need 5 points to graph a line, you need 2. A starting point and where's it going to go? 2 points, you could have made that line every single time. So now you're going to love this. We're going to take this information, make a total shortcut out of it, and basically tell you, you would have never even needed to know those tables in the first place, except you kind of have to know where this is coming from. And to be honest, you're going to use the tables again, but in Algebra 2 with graphing different kinds of equations, not just lines. But I could have taught you this shortcut right away, but maybe you wouldn't have appreciated it the same if you didn't know that long way of doing the table. We only need 2 points. Our first one is down 3. Oops, I just erased it. And our second one is rise over run. Starting from our base, don't go back to the origin. Starting from our base, we're going to rise 2, run 3, and make a point. And you can draw a line through those 2 points. You could, however, if you wanted to make sure your line was nice and straight, go rise 2 and run 3 again. You don't have to, but you can. And if I try to draw this, I'll switch to my right hand, which is more dominant. Try to draw this straight through here. Make a nice straight line through the points. Please draw it all the way through the points. When you have your 2 dots, I don't want you to just draw from here to here. That's not accurate. It's not a short little tiny line. You have to get an entire line that goes all the way through it. That's it. That's slope. And I could say, okay, that's it. Go ahead and do your assignment. Just do the same thing over and over, but there's going to be a couple glitches, as usual. There always are. This one, m is -4. B is 2. So our base is going to start up 2, starting from 0, up 1, 2, dot. Oh, what are we going to do with our slope? It only has one number. Let me get the b equals 2 out of there. It only has one number, and we need a rise over a run. Got another rhyme for you. Remember my other rhyme was, well, it kind of rhymed. If 0 is under the line, it's undefined. Here's my new rhyme for slope. If slope doesn't have a run, put it over 1. Because isn't -4 over 1 the same as -4? It's not reduced. It wasn't reduced. We didn't put it in the problem, but we do need it when we do the graph. So our base was at 2. Our slope is -4 over 1, which means we're going to rise -4, which basically means fall. 1, 2, 3, 4. But the run is a +1. So make sure you go in the correct direction. Down 4 to the right 1 space. Draw a line through it. down 4, right 1. Way too often, let me just show you in all my years of teaching, way too often, because of the negative, students go down 4 over 1 like this, and they draw their line. Well, here's the trick right away. You remember my little skier? We called him Cliff. Oops, I just moved this. Right there. Okay, my little skier guy, if we put him on the slopes here, okay, here's Cliff. He's skiing uphill if you did this wrong. He shouldn't be skiing uphill because the slope was negative. If the slope was negative, he should be, why does that keep moving? He should be skiing downhill. If we want Cliff to be skiing downhill, then we've got to go down 4 to the right 1 space. Now he's cruising right along, having a lot more fun, going downhill, whoosh, down the slope. So double check when you're done graphing. If it's negative, it's downhill. If it's positive, it's uphill. Take a look at this one. Down 3 is our base, and if you want, you can just start labeling it like this, as long as you don't lose the negative. Down 3 is our base, and from there we have to go negative 5/4, but look at where they put the negative. They put it out in front, and you might be wondering, should I go down 5 and over to the right 4, rise over run, or should I go up 5 and to the left 4? That negative has to go somewhere. Be careful, you can't make them both a negative because 2 negatives make a positive, and we're going to have Cliff going uphill again. We don't want him going uphill, we want him going downhill. So don't make them both negative, you got to pick one for the slope. Well, if I pick this one, I'm going to go down 5 for my rise and over to the right 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, oh. There's no room on this graph to pick that one. So instead, I'm going to choose this one and go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but then to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I go up 5 and left 4, there's my nice downhill slope, started at -3, went up 5, left 4. If I did so much as have some room to check this, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 1, 2, 3, 4, it looks like it probably would have run into it. It just would have been so far off the graph that it's no point in doing it that direction. We should do it up and to the left. And basically, you know what, before I go on, you could have done that on any of these graphs. Let me clean this one up a little bit. Okay, this graph, if we wanted to, instead of going up 2 and over 3, 2 negatives make a positive. We could have gone down 2 and left 3. Would have still worked. Whether you go up 2 over 3 or down 2 left 3, you get the same exact line. This one we had 4 over -1. Again, let me clean this up and put just the one graph that we had. We went down 4 and right 1. Down 4 and right 1. We could have just as easily gone up 4 and left 1. If I would have drawn the line a little bit straighter, it would have still worked. 2 points make that line. Hopefully I didn't just totally confuse you on that. Let's try this one though. Y equals 3x. We did practice these earlier. What do you do if there's not a base? What if there's not a y-intercept? There is. Your m is 3. Your b is 0. If they didn't give you a base, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means they don't have to write +0. We still have a starting point. You have to have a starting point. We're just starting right there at the origin. What do we do if there's a slope of 3 and we need a rise over run? Here comes again. If the slope doesn't have a run, put it over 1. Up 3, over 1, 1, 2, 3, over 1. Or, like I just told you earlier, we could go down 3 and to the left 1 because 2 negatives make a positive. Am I going to make you do that every time? No. You could do it to check your answers if you wanted. But it works both ways. Think you're getting the hang of this? And then I give you this problem. Y equals -4. And you're thinking, there is no M, there is no B. Which one is missing? They're both there. They're just not written because we don't need to write 0x if there is no x. Slope, in this case, is 0. Base is -4. And if you're thinking about Cliff at all, you're like, oh yeah, Cliff. He was able to ski on a 0 slope. It had no uphills, no downhills. It went straight across. Let's try it. B equals -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We went down 4. And you could just be thinking, oh yeah, I know the picture of that graph. I know he wasn't going to die because dying was undefined. I'm just going to draw a straight line where Cliff was skiing. And that works. You could be done. Or maybe you forgot and you're like, I don't know how to graph this. What should I do? So we get rid of that line. We go back up to my rhyme. If slope doesn't have a run, put it over 1. We can still graph 0 over 1. Come back over here to your base, to your y-intercept, and say up 0 over 1. I didn't go up 0 at all. I went over 1. There's your 2 points. Draw a line through it. Don't make that harder than it is. Go back and look at your notes if you get stuck on these on the daily quizzes or the tests or well, you can't look at your notes on the test. But. Okay, we're going to finish up with these last 4. I'm going to do the first one with you, and then after that I'll go a little bit quicker through them. We want to graph this, but we can't say that 3 is our base and 2 is our slope. That only works if we are in slope intercept form, which is why we practice getting everything in y equals mx plus b form yesterday. So you first have to subtract the 2x over to this side. Write the equation as y equals -2x plus 3. We've worked on that for like 3 different sections now. We should be good at it. Now you have an m of -2 and a b of 3. Start down, or up 3, because it's positive this time. And our slope, if it doesn't have a run, put it over 1. You should make a song out of that. I could sing it to you instead of just rhyming it. Maybe you could make a song. If the slope doesn't have a run, put it over 1. And if 0 is under the line, then it's undefined. Maybe get that all together and sing it to me. Send me a video. Down 2, over 1. Make sure you have a downhill slope, which we do. Final answer. So it's going to take a step to get it in y equals mx plus b form. At this point, I have 3 of these left. I want you to pause it, try it, and then go back, come hit play on the video and see if yours matches mine. I'm not going to talk you all the way through it. I'm just going to go through the steps after you've had a chance to try it yourself. All right, ready? Pause. If you're back, you should check and see if you put this in y equals mx plus b form. In this case, we do have a slope because we have an x, and the slope is always in front of the x, but we don't have a base. Oh yeah, we do. There's always a base. There's a y-intercept. It just didn't tell you. It starts at 0. So we start at 0 and go down 3, positive 2. Down 3, positive 2. And remember, before I told you you could also go up 3, left 2. Depends on what you need on your graph, what direction and how much room you have. Okay, pause it again. We'll do the next 2 just like that. Try it, pause it, come on back. And you're back. This only needed 1 step to solve. Divide by 3 all 3 times. 3 minus 3 is 1. That's our base. That's our slope. Make sure you don't lose that -1 for base. And up 4 over 3. Line. Always happens in math that you learn something and then the next day you learn something, and then on the third day, they take those two things that you just learned and they put them together, and they make you do it all in one problem. Expect that. It happens all the time. Pause it for one last one, and let's see how you do on this one. Okay, you're back. Hopefully you gave it a shot on your own, not just watching me do it. 4y equals negative 6x plus 12. And when I divided by 4 all 3 times, I got y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 3. Where did I get that from? Because I reduced negative 6/4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. My graph starts up 3. For my base, my slope is down 3. To the right 2. Draw the line. That's it. Good luck on the second half of section 3.5.